Alabama brings home a big win against Florida State in their season opener. The defense not missing a beat. However, some injuries to report on. Michael Casagrande joining me now. I want to start with those defensive injuries. Two key linebackers, Terrell Lewis as well as Christian Miller, out for the season. What kind of updates did we get from Nick Saban today on those?
Well, he pretty much confirmed the report that Matt Zenitz from AL.com had yesterday that both those guys are out for the season. Pretty big blow. Those guys were two of the major guys that are going to be replacing outside linebackers, the pass rushers, and Tim Williams and Ryan Anderson. So it's not insignificant. You combine that with Anthony Jennings, the other outside linebacker, is going to be out for a few weeks probably. And you got Rashawn Evans, also a middle linebacker, who would be a possibility to move to the outside spots where he'd been previously. There were a lot of guys out in an area that they were already rebuilding a little bit to begin with. So an interesting situation. A couple weeks to resolve things. Not going to be as challenged with Fresno State, presumably Colorado State. So it's going to be interesting to see. There'll be some new guys, some guys moving around from inside to outside. So it'll be something to watch definitely in the weeks to come.
Okay, obviously Alabama having a chance to break down game film from Florida State. What were some thoughts? What were some of the things that Nick Saban kind of pulled apart? I know after the game he wasn't overly thrilled with their performance, a lot of mistakes, but you know, that's Coach Saban speak, of course. What did you gather from the press conference today that they're really going to focus in on and hone in on this second week?
He talked a lot about execution mistakes, that there were some defensive mistakes that went unpunished in the sense in the first half, that there were some guys left open that weren't necessarily hit for the big plays. They got away with some things in that sense. Offensively, a mixed bag. Wasn't overly happy with all the things. Jalen Hurts had a pretty good game. He wouldn't say it was a disappointment. Said that there were some decisions that have time to improve, but it was also to consider the fact that they were playing Florida State, which was probably the best defense they'll face all season. So combining that with a new offense, maybe some new ideas, and the challenge of the opponent, I think in the end there weren't too many disappointments in the grand scheme of things, given they won.
Now, some sad news today, learning that assistant coach Mike Locksley losing his son. That was discussed a little bit in the press conference. What do we know about that story based on just some of the small information that we have thus far?
Very surprising. It kind of took the air out of the room. Nobody had heard of this story until Nick Saban brought it up today, and it quickly went national. Just his 25-year-old son was shot last night in Maryland and died overnight in the hospital. Not many details known at this point. Obviously, Coach Locksley won't be with the team right now, so it's a sad day. You could tell there was definitely a feeling of tragedy had taken place here.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Michael, and great insight on the Florida State game. Looking ahead to Fresno State. For all those updates, you can visit us on AL.com.